Thank you, Wendell. Good evening and welcome to tonight's regional news. We begin with a rather tragic story from Jamaica. Tragedy rocked the rural district of Kensham, St. Elizabeth, Jamaica on Wednesday after a lightning strike killed a teenager and a farmer under an avocado tree. Senior Superintendent of Police Stephanie Lindsay confirmed that 14-year-old Ricardo Fisher and 30-year-old farmer Sheldon Kane are the victims. Kane, who is from Mineral Heights in the neighboring parish of Clarendon, was visiting relatives in the rural community. The two were in the process of picking fruit when tragedy struck. The police are continuing their investigation into the incident. On Wednesday, heavy rains and thunderstorms pelted sections of the island, resulting in flooding in some sections and up to 30 millimeters of rainfall recorded in some places. Major thoroughfares in Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, and St. Elizabeth were flooded by the afternoon showers. And now for some news from Colombia. At least 7 people have been killed in protests in Colombia as outrage spreads over the death of a man who was pinned to the ground and repeatedly tasered by police in Bogota. Video of the incident shows 46-year-old Javier Ordonez begging the officers to stop and telling them, I quote, "I am choking," end of quote. The officers were arresting him for allegedly breaking social distancing rules by drinking with friends. He was taken to a police station and later moved to a hospital where he died. Defense Minister Carlos Holmes Torrijos said 5 of those who died had been shot. He also offered a reward for information leading to the capture of the perpetrators of the murders. The Bogota Mayor Claudia Lopez said 248 people had been injured, of which 58 had received gunshot wounds. Lopez added that more than 100 police officers had also been hurt. She said that no one had ordered police to shoot at protesters, especially not in an indiscriminate way, but that there was evidence that was what had happened in some areas. The protests were centered on the neighboring of Engativa, where police arrested Ordonez. Hundreds of protesters clashed with officers outside the police post where Ordonez was held. More than 40 such posts, small police stations dotted across the city, which often consist of only one room, were attacked and 17 were burnt down. There were also protests in Soacha, south of Bogota, in Colombia's second biggest city, Medellin, and in the city of Pereira. More than 70 vehicles were damaged, among them 9 public buses, which were set alight. Defense Minister Carlos Holmes Torrijos said 1,600 extra police officers would be deployed to Bogota to tackle the protests. And finally, in tonight's regional news, we turn to a story from Paraguay. The daughters of Oscar Dennis, the former Paraguayan vice president who is believed to have been kidnapped, have begged his abductors to contact them and give him vital medicines. Mr. Dennis, 74, and an employee disappeared on Wednesday from his ranch in the north of the country. Police believe he was taken by Paraguayan People's Army rebel group. His kidnapping comes after 2 girls were shot in a security forces raid on a rebel camp. The politician's farm is located about 6 miles from the site where the 11-year-old Argentina nationals were killed. Dennis and a 21-year-old employee had gone out to visit part of the farm, but a worker found the politician's vehicle abandoned and no sign of the 2 men. In a news conference on Wednesday, Dennis's 3 daughters begged the kidnappers to provide their father with medication to treat his diabetes and hypertension, listing the drugs he takes. The Paraguayan People's Army is a small Marxist rebel group which has carried out a string of kidnappings and killings in Paraguay. One of the group's main sources of income is smuggling of marijuana and ransoms paid for those it has kidnapped. That was all for tonight's regional news. Thank you for joining, and back to you, Wendell.